You know, it's not every day you see someone show up at a federal military warehouse armed with nothing but a clipboard and an attitude, thinking a cheap uniform and a fake badge gives them the right to seize ammunition meant for the army. Yeah, that happened. Let me back up a sec and tell you how Kyle Barrett, a logistics vet with 2 decades of experience, shut down a fake HOA tactical enforcement crew in under 3 minutes. And why those imposters won't be stepping foot near that gate again anytime soon. It was just past 7 in the morning at Red Rock Logistics Depot, a quiet, unmarked military warehouse tucked behind some old timber roads in rural Alabama. The air was crisp, still the kind of morning that promises a slow day. Inside, Kyle was checking an outbound manifest for disaster relief kits, just doing his routine. Then the steel door creaked open, and a guy walked in, not a real cop. Not even close. Dark cargo pants, a cheap tactical vest with HOA Compliance Division slapped on it, and a shiny badge hanging like some kind of souvenir from a school trip. No official markings, no government ID, just a clipboard and a whole lot of confidence. Without so much as a good morning, this guy marched past the federal access-only signs, barking. This facility is in violation of Fire Code and Ordinance 12C. I'm placing it under immediate review. Kyle, a stocky guy with 21 years in logistics and 8 overseas, just stood there, calm but alert. Something about this guy screamed fake. No real agency, no jurisdiction, just a bold trespasser with a clipboard. The guy, who introduced himself as Officer Dan Redman, claimed he was chief compliance agent for the HOA district and that these military munitions posed a direct hazard to residential safety. He demanded Kyle surrender the ammo or face escalation. Kyle blinked once. Munitions escalation? He glanced at a black SUV parked just outside, sporting a magnetic sign that read Community Oversight Patrol. No government plates. No contractor tags. Just a vehicle that didn't belong. Kyle's instincts kicked in. Years of convoy security, base inspections, and he kept his voice even. You know this is federal property, right? Under a military lease. Redman didn't even flinch. That may be, he said, but HOA has jurisdiction over all structures within boundary lines. Boundary lines? The guy was quoting local residential code to a federal military compound stocked with contingency supplies. Kyle didn't reply. Instead, he casually stepped back toward his desk, fingers brushing the underside of a drawer. His thumb found a small recessed button, cold, silent, and pressed it. No noise, no flashing light, just a faint vibration sending a signal straight to Army Ranger comms. Redman kept talking, but Kyle barely heard him. His eyes were calm, unreadable, the kind of calm only someone who knows backup is minutes away can hold. Then, with a measured voice, Kyle asked the question that mattered. Do you have a warrant or any county-issued authority to enter this facility? Redman laughed, loud, exaggerated, like he was performing for an invisible audience. Then came the words that froze Kyle. You think you're above the rules just because you stack boxes and wear camo? The room felt colder. Kyle didn't answer. He'd heard worse, in war zones, from tougher men, but this was different. This was some local fraud, mocking a decorated veteran, threatening to confiscate military property like it was a garage sale. Redman didn't notice the silence. He pulled out a cheap walkie-talkie, barking orders with fake urgency. Unit 2, begin compliance sweep. Mark and photograph all ordnance containers for evidence. Then, he pulled out duct tape and slapped a bright orange "Seizure in Progress" sticker on a steel crate stamped with military inventory codes. Kyle's fist clenched behind his back. That crate held federally inventoried rounds, tracked, logged, and signed off by multiple branches. Redman had no idea what he was messing with, but he wasn't done. Redman moved across the warehouse, snapping photos, muttering about violations. Kyle spotted 2 more guys outside, same patchy uniforms, one wielding bolt cutters, tracing the outer fence, the other standing by the SUV with arms crossed, scanning the tree line like expecting a salute. Neither knew they were already under watch cameras hardwired to a secure server, feeding live images to Department of Defense personnel. Redman made his next mistake. He marched toward the side entrance leading to the command trailer, the heart of the facility with encrypted radios, biometric gun lockers, and an emergency override wired directly to regional military command. He shoved a screwdriver into the gate's lock interface, trying to pry it open. Kyle stepped forward, calm but firm. "That's a federal system. You don't touch that." Redman scoffed. "You think you can stop this process? You're not law enforcement. You're just tenants here." To the untrained eye, Kyle looked like a calm warehouse supervisor, work boots, fleece. But behind him, past locked panels and reinforced bulkheads, lay the real power: surveillance terminals, encrypted radios, biometric scanners. Redman's eyes locked on a brushed steel control panel, probably looked like a thermostat to him, and he took a step forward. Kyle raised a hand, not to threaten, just with quiet control. "You're about 30 seconds away from federal custody." Redman paused, then laughed. "You expect me to believe the Army's coming over a storage shed violation?" But before he could do anything, a thunderous sound broke the morning stillness. Two Humvees roared across the gravel, engines humming, doors swinging open in unison. Four Army Rangers stepped out, not for show. No theatrics, in full gear, disciplined, precise, boots hitting the ground in perfect rhythm. These were Tier 1 operators, perimeter response for one of the most sensitive supply hubs in the state. Leading them was Sergeant First Class Molina, square-shouldered, battle-tested, calm as a stone wall. He didn't raise his weapon. He didn't need to. Instead, a quick nod to Kyle said, "We got your silent beacon." Then he turned to the intruders, voice steel-edged. "Who the hell are these clowns?" Redman went pale. The clipboard sagged. Behind him, the metallic clink of bolt cutters hitting concrete echoed. One of the imposters raised his hands, surrendering without being asked. Molina stepped forward, voice steady but with no room for debate. "You are under investigation for impersonating federal officers, unauthorized entry on restricted grounds, and attempted interference with federally controlled munitions. That's felony territory under Title 18 U.S. Code Sections 912 and 641. Redman opened his mouth to object, but stopped. One of the imposters panicked and bolted for their SUV, barely 10 feet before a second Humvee rolled up, blocking the vehicle, and with quiet precision. Three military police officers stepped out, flex cuffs ready. No sirens, no shouting. Just swift, clean protocol, the kind that leaves no loose ends. Kyle stood arms crossed, watching the scene with the calm of a man who knew exactly how this would end from the moment he pressed that silent switch. No need to raise his voice. The rules had spoken. By noon that day, the Department of Defense was already filing reports. Within hours, the FBI launched a formal investigation into a shadowy shell operation calling itself HOA Tactical Enforcement LLC. This wasn't their first time. A disturbing pattern of staged seizures, threats, and fake compliance actions targeting veterans, rural landowners, and unincorporated communities across the Southeast. But this time, they hit a brick wall. Trespassing on a federally protected site, impersonating law enforcement, and trying to steal active-duty military inventory. Charges stuck like bolts through steel. 2 months later, Kyle testified in a federal hearing in Atlanta, sharp, composed, clear. He detailed that morning Redman and his crew tried to bluff their way through a biometric lock. The courtroom didn't need theatrics. The evidence was damning. Surveillance footage, radio logs, forged credentials, all crumbling under scrutiny. Redman and his associates were convicted on multiple felony counts: impersonation of federal personnel, attempted theft of government property, unlawful entry onto restricted grounds. Sentencing was swift. No more fake citations, no more staged raids. Back at Red Rock, operations never skipped a beat. The Rangers left every crate exactly where it belonged. No drama, no overreach. Just clean execution and full containment. The only sign anything happened was the next morning. Kyle, coffee thermos in hand, installed a fresh laminated plaque on the gate, bold military font reading, "This facility is under federal protection. Violators will be prosecuted by the U.S. Army Rangers." Right below, spray painted with a dry sense of humor, "Not your HOA. Not your rules." No press release, no grand announcement, just quiet clarity. Because true order doesn't need noise. It stands firm, strong, and lets silence do the talking. So here's the kicker. How many more HOA Tactical Enforcement imposters are out there? thinking they can muscle in on federal operations, bluff their way past real authority? And what does it say about communities where people feel the need to create their own fake enforcement just to feel in control? Justice was swift here, but how often does it miss the mark? I want to hear what you think. Where's the line between community safety and overreach? When does enforcement become impersonation? Drop your thoughts below and let's get this conversation started.